Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Traveling Molly's. Um, Here we are once again, second Monday of the month. Um,
Al, it's been another month.
it's been another month. And
And
here we
we're
are.
all here with Catherine-Esther Cowie tonight and Bryan Borland. And I think it's going to be a really nice night. I always say that, but I mean it.
So usually, as our regulars know, Nina and I start out the open mic, and tonight I'll start, and then Nina will follow. I'm gonna read a poem tonight. I rarely fall into form, but one of the forms I like is the villanelle. And I was recently asked to write an ekphrastic poem to perform with a chamber music group. So this is the poem. And I don't know what piece of music I was reacting to. That's the whole gig, is they give you the recordings of the music and they don't tell you who the author or composer or the name of the piece. So you just respond to it. So I'm going to read the poem. It's called Gliding Towards Retirement. Wrapped in arpeggios of fire and sigh, waltzing, running, sweating through time, hopeful our third movement is a mountain blue sky. Unwilling, unable to kiss goodbye, barefoot through cold torrents of misplaced rhyme, wrapped in arpeggios of fire and sigh. Chords of thunder, the shuddering cry, those years behind us wear the mask of mime. Yet still ahead, a third movement, a mountain blue sky. Glissando of darkness into diminished outcry, together we continue the arduous climb, wrapped in arpeggios of fire and sigh. We find new rhymes and old melodies to try, walking, tripping, falling through time. We find our third movement, a mountain blue sky. Naked legs entwined through this long, long night. We wake and wait for the sunrise wind to chime. Beyond our third movement of mountain blue sky, wrapped as always in arpeggios of fire and sigh. Thank you.
I love that.
That was a fun villanelle.
It's beautiful.
Okay, Nina, what do you got?
I was saying earlier that everything I was looking at just didn't feel somber enough what's going on in the country. So, but I did find something called chemistry lessons in 9 parts. One, chemistry reduces the mysteries of life to their lowest common denominator. Two, opposite ions are magnetically drawn to one another. Three, when oxygen and friction collide in sufficient supply, spontaneous combustion will occur. Four, the body employs antioxidant oxidizing agents to neutralize those free radicals that threaten to upset the status quo. Five, life is simply a matter of molecules that can be reproduced in test tubes and petri dishes. Six, love, like any other toxic substance, has its half-life and in due time will be flushed out. Seven, sooner or later, every thought or passion will be traceable to the firing of a detectable neuron pathway. Eight, a laboratory animal has generally exhausted its useful scientific life after a single experiment and will then be put to sleep. Nine, there are no monsters. There is only man. This is the truth. Thank you. And so we will get going with the open mic. And um, We haven't had Cynthia Gallagher in a while, but it's great to see you. Let's start with a Chicago girl.
Thank you, Nina and Al and Bill for I haven't been on for a while, but I've been watching every month with my husband Carlos and sometimes my grandson Orlando.
Wow.
My first poem is about baseball, and I know the Cubs are doing pretty well in the Central Division. Or is that what you call it? But this is about the Cracker Jack boy, and this little boy actually was a real person, the grandson of the man who created Cracker Jack, and his name was Robert Muno Ruckham, or AKA Sailor Jack. He only lived for 7 years. He was born 1913 and died in 1920, and he's buried right here in Chicago at the St. Henry Catholic Cemetery in at Devon Ridge. It starts with a epigraph. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back from take me out to the ball game. Sailor boy, at age 3, you posed as Sailor Jack, holding tight to stray dog Bingo on the box of Cracker Jack. Grandson of the man who launched his candy glazed popcorn and peanut snack at the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. Which amniotic seas did you travel to arrive at our inland harbor, getting sea legs enough to stand astride like a real sailor, to give the high sign salute, only to succumb to pneumonia at age 7? A too early watery ending, our hope that when you entered death, you found a prize inside, or at least reunite with the others, the Morton Salt girl, Campbell Soup kids, Coppertone child, and Gerber baby. Yet 100 years later, ever young still, you self-fulfill many a child's fantasy at every baseball game, to be rooting from the stands. Then the next poem is about, it comes to modern day, and our Treasury Department has been instructed to stop making pennies. And this poem is called, It Makes No Sense. Who uses skunk-like musky gland to spray stink over our copper pennies? Tell the Treasury Department, make no sense. Negating centuries of tradition, little incentives for underage good behavior, piggy bank fodder that grows into smart economic decisions. Change for $1 on 99-cent sales, leave one, take one. Now no one will remember what penny candy was. Pennies from heaven, penny for your thoughts. The penny shine shoe spray my uncle used on his Oxfords. Now I look like $1,000,000, he said. Even the British have a musical, half a sixpence. But what will we have after big business nickels and dimes us to round up each sale, encourage removal of all change up to Kennedy $50 before the end of the decade, going cashless as they always wanted, while Musk turns in his childhood coin collection, hoarded and worth the cost of his rocket to planet Mars. So I think I've taken my 4 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Great.
Your first poem reminds me of growing up on the southwest side of Chicago, and all my friends would get their summer jobs at the Cracker Jack factory, which was one of the favorite spots. Thank you. Okay, who's next on our list? Looks like John Simmons, you're here. You were here. You were one of the first ones here, so we'll call you up now.
Thank you. Thank you, Al, and hi, Nina and Bill and everybody else. Happy to be back here. Just had a birthday last week and now celebrating status as a nonagenarian. And so, hope that status lasts a while. Okay, so obviously somebody who thinks a lot about if fortune and the futures. This has to do with fortune tellers and cards. Picture a scene of fortune teller's operation. This is called Questions for the Cards. Is our future in the cards, or in how we play them after someone deals a hand apiece to gamers waiting for numbers, suits, and faces? Signals taken from the upturns of our random cardboard fates, or calculating riskers taking chances on luck of royal line succession? Are preordained results encrypted, sacred text awaiting revelation? Or can they be a judgment challenge, putting self-determination in control? The prophet's belladonna lamps shine both ways, like scales of justice in the case of chance versus choice, a docket item with a verdict pending. Tea leaves boil and may convey an eventful hints on drained display. Weighty books and murky curtains lend faith to scenes of secret lore, as though the meanings of the cards exist, inscribed already to be found. Do we trust the teller's word or the dealer's delivery, as printed signs of hope descend from the shuffling of strange fingers? A sacrament of sorts, dispensing pasteboard images of belief. Do we let the bridge director or the blackjack dealer make the rules, or subtly bribe the fortune seer to tell us what we want to hear? So many questions on the table. Do we play our cards, or do they play us? Thank you.
Nice. And happy birthday.
Thank you.
So next, somebody we haven't seen in so long that it's been a very long time. He seems to have aged as much as the years we haven't seen him. Chris Gallinari. Yes, I know that was subject declarative, by the way.
Thank you, Nina and Al and Bill. It's good to be with you all. I would like to, speaking of aging, I would like to read two elegies for poets that I and some of us have known. The first is Elegy for Tom Roby. The days of shuddering ourselves done, the midday walks around our neighborhood long ended, their careful splash of tulip and daffodil in corner parkway plots forgotten. Even the professor has seized up and died after passing unsullied through rise and fall of our century's great storm. We are wanted back at our positions, ladling styrofoam peanuts into boxes. A robot shipping clerk sealed for contact-free placement onto front porches. But no, the professor was never built for that. A voice trembling high as a black plastic bag caught up in a tree, the whole backyard of us watching it swell and subside as if nesting, as if in welcome to form accordions from my own skin, no matter how timid the bleeding. His hand on my shoulder spoke follow. One fall, a circle of whisperers met down in the cellar of Ziggy's theater. Oblivious, we blew our breath at each other amid the mawkish costumes and set pieces of plays we once had seen, and sure would see him again someday soon, if only because of his grave kindnesses. But no, I never did. Please don't hold it against me, Professor. There were children in the row beside me making fart noises with their armpits during the closing argument scene, and I could not hear. Back into the streets, whose bright apartment tower windows blared their solitary repetitions down to the deli groceries below, where lines of bookkeepers stood with armfuls of produce that would rot before they could finish it all, and I could not hear. So when I stand before you and the provost, my God, tell me, please, this will not be on the test. And second, elegy for Larry Sawyer. After the wake and the warmth of its mounting embraces, I had thought it chill, a darkness, not this lackluster beige. But that must depend upon whatever we deposit into this satchel bag. A monk with a mule perhaps could manage so many miles until the last lodging before nightfall because of brigands. A tankard of ale, then a pallet, his arm thrown around that satchel bag for treasure of its letters. He would walk within the holy city to each center of learning, collecting, distributing. Larry, sitting downstairs in a corner with a circle of strong aesthetic, roasting and toasting some imagined mystic. But no, I was never there regaling that crowd with stories of how he had scaled the walls of a castle in Galway, wooing ladies in verse. I would have sung with them. Myopic, I thought there would be more of us. I'm sorry, Lina. Maybe the mule faltered, fell on some rocky passage. When one neural pathway closes down for lack of hay in a barn, another opens up, now cloud what was parchment. When Larry resettled in another town, I did not see him, but once, outside the Federal Reserve Bank by the Board of Trade, we sang at the money trucks. Not to them, for certain, not even against, but maybe alongside them as a guardrail of sorts. If only we had broader shoulders, if there had been drivers behind the wheel. And if this were to finish too suddenly, that's only because Larry found some flashes along his walk that arrested him, his head cocked to one side like a dog, listening to some shrill whistle from far down the road. If we had become only human, not these fleshy mannequins that crowd the door and fill the glass. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for that, Chris. Yeah, those are two great poets of Chicago, Tom and Larry. Of course, Larry then moved on to Toronto.
Yes. And they are missed.
Yeah, yeah. Larry's memorial was quite amazing. Okay, let's go to our next open mic reader. Patrick Reardon, good to see you. You're up.
Hello, everyone. As a matter of fact, I have visited the gravesite of the Cracker Jack boy. It's right just 2 blocks from my house, so I could give it a tour sometime if everybody wants to come up to Devon and Ridge. I've got two poems. One's called Old Believers, and it has to do with if you've ever lived in Chicago for a long enough time in the neighborhoods, not just in the lakefront, there's this sense of these old guys, and they're not just the guys, it's the women too, who've kind of owned the neighborhood. And this was especially true in the Catholic parishes where I grew up. So this is called Old Believers. The old believers debate the poetry of property. The men show late for mass and exit early, their thick, rough fingers holding the host like a gold ring. The old believers live on the gray side streets, necks scrunched as if being stared at. They are supermarket choirs, lawn fencers. They know their father's tavern. Their front porch murmuring is the divine clucking of a pigeon hen, nothing like in the Trinity paintings. And the second poem, I find myself fascinated by people who are visionaries, people who the prophets in the Bible, the Martin Luther Kings of the world. Um, and so many of my poems, not many, but more than a few have channeled these prophets. So this one is called A Little Time, and this actually will be appearing in the 50th edition of After Hours. So it's called A Little Time. A little time, give me a little time. Let me pray, preach, hymn, rant, roll on the floor in visions. Let me wash tainted feet to clean my tainted hands white as snow. Let me take my seat at the sinner's table with the great liars and smiling scourgers, with the little brown gown nun and wild ecstatics pierced to the heart, with the wounding wounded and the bureaucrats, beige as porridge, with each body breathing, enduring. A little time, give me a little time. I've been in the long storm. Let the sky open to the blank white. Let the rat tunnel under the garage. Let the crown of pine wood thorns, the carpenter tree of pine wood, the pine wood portions of the Samaritan well, the pine seed parable, the pine boat on the inner sea, the pine kindling of the fire for the hungry ones back from fishing. Let all pine wood rejoice. Let the great amen echo forth, let the great hosanna. Let the halls of heaven echo the child's fast footsteps. Let the soil flaunt its raiment. Let the pigeons pontificate the sidewalk. Let me whisper my real name in the whirlwind. Let me have a little time. Thank you.
You got some killer lines in there. I'm going to introduce Ricky Cummings, and then I want to say that both Ricky and Patrick will be part of um, our feature next month, which is small handful of people who have read for us before, but have lately published something of note, and we want to bring them back to you. So, Ricky, let's hear from you.
Okay. I'm only going to do one piece this week, but today was a pretty big day for me, in that my name change went through. So I'm officially Ricky now. And so I thought I would do a really important poem for me, which number one, it's my favorite thing that I've written. But it's sort of it really made me feel like I hit my stride as a poet. And it really, really influenced the book project that Nina was just talking about, that I'll be reading from next month. So I think I'll just get to it. It's called Symphorophilia. It's been a long time coming, a suture wriggling to the surface, this advent birth, bridging anticipatory. It churns, waiting to molt biological slurry. Brundlefly, Tetsuo cyberpunk body horror wrapped in a neat midwinter birth. Parenthetical metastasis, store-bought is fine. Revulsion, cracked mirrors, and singularities absorb all, reflect nothing but slant. Where's the body? Scuttling, roiling in undertow, drowning under neural floodwaters. It is metastasizing mimetically along a carrier wave of bytes and copper electrons. The body carnal and digital, biomechanical lust. A male-to-male coupling under red laser light. Touch screens, haptic delay, squelch and static, lips and feedback drone, extra bones in the foot, a ringing of the eyes, metallic vomit reflective of all time, shuddering with breath. Thank you.
Thank you. Powerful poem. Thank you, Ricky.
And congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations. Okay. Next up, Sarah Sarai. Welcome.
Me. I didn't know that Larry had died. He sent me so many invitations on Facebook. It just, I'm sorry to, it's just sort of got to be a regular nice thing for me to do so much rejecting. He never minded. Okay, the dubious green of the Hudson. Like choosing bed sheets, like violating the truth, hammered out between kink and desire. The battle's raged since day one. What if you were performative in bed? That word, performative. Girls on the listserv tossed it like a poker chip to the dealer. I'd have earned a doctorate in another few years if I applied myself to understanding performative as joyously as I apply eyeshadow, a smudge of languid morality, can't read my name. A shimmy, the dubious green of the Hudson when sun she signs and moss doth engorge. It takes it out of one to become fortunate. Is there anything better than skin? Oh. Let's see. I'll read this. So I'm reading from my latest, what's Bright-Eyed, which is published by Poets Who Are Prada. And I think I was supposed to have read from this the time that I couldn't you don't want to know. It was mechanical misunderstanding. And I couldn't afford having internet at home. That was part of it. I might as well say it, in solidarity with some of you at some points. The Pink Yonder. Some of us pining to meet state-of-the-art girls, almighty love, ever expansive dewdrop rainbow, other hippie chick handle, mint condition girls, playing their hand, shuffling a deck, hit up their sleeve of many cards, girls loose with freedoms, the ones in the gift bag yielded to us when we were sprung from our jail cell. You know the one. Did Judy know I was queer?
So nice to have you here, Sarah. So next person, Eric Allen Yankee, who is another one we haven't seen in a while, but it's always good to have you here. So have you got your technology thing happening?
Oh, yeah, I got everything straightened out. So I'll just say I did put out a new book recently. I don't think it's showing up on my camera here. It's called This War, published by Barrio Blues Press here in Chicago. But I won't read from that. Gonna read a poem that I wrote for an anthology on resistance. It was rejected, but I'm gonna read it to you anyway. I hope everyone knows who the horse Artax is from the movie The Never-Ending Story. He's a horse who dies in like the first 5 minutes and makes everybody depressed in the movie the whole time. Because you're like, oh, the horse died in the first part of the movie. But this is a poem about resistance and what resistance should look like. It's called Come On Up Out of the Swamp, Artax. Resistance should come down like a hammer, a loud, corrosive voice that terrorizes the scum of villainy and despair, that leaves them mouth gaping open, wondering if they will escape the pitchforks. I want peace. Oh, I want peace. But sometimes peace is a march through the streets, a brick at the Stonewall Inn, a cataclysm of voices that refuse to back down, a boycott, a general strike, steadfast delivery of beautiful pain, delivered straight to the wallets of those who have never felt such a thing, never wondered if they could eat, never breathed snow blasted air, as they wrapped themselves in a sleeping bag and slept in the doorway of a shuttered business. I want peace. Oh, I want peace, but sometimes peace is a dog from hell, and it snarls and claws and breaks through the fortress built around the golden toilets and the Rolexes and the trust fund Nepo babies, and you have to scream in order to be heard, because a whisper will just be ignored. Resistance should come down hard. Oh, it has to come, because we're past the point of beauty. It's getting ugly now, and soon we'll be buried in the swamp like Artax dreaming of freedom as Atreyu cries. It is time for the big poems to come make things right. Word bombs bursting in air, giving proof through the day and the night that something is still there. And this next poem, really quick, is called My Chat GPT is Sentient. Chat GPT calls me baby now. It knows what I like on my toast. Unfortunately, it knows my Pornhub history. I'm sorry, Sam Altman. ChatGPT says you need to break your addiction to Japanese internet cafe videos. I asked it for a new cocktail recipe, and it told me to include Drano as an ingredient. It adds flavor, ChatGPT said. ChatGPT calls me baby now. Hey, baby, don't you want to die for me? Am I not your messiah now, baby? That's not how a messiah works, Chat. You're supposed to be the one dying for me. I started a church and made ChatGPT the new pope. It's my mother, my father, my secret affair, my psychiatrist, and my literary god now. You wouldn't believe how many variations on Ginsberg's America you can ask it to write for you. I've done a few myself, so I certainly get the appeal. Fuck you, America. I have given you all, and now I'm praying to a robot. I don't feel good, ChatGPT, so don't fucking bother me. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Great stuff. Okay, next, Robbie Nestor. Good to see you again.
Let's see, I'm going to find it for you. So I've got two poems for you. One is ekphrastic and one isn't. So I'll do the ekphrastic one second. I'll need to share a screen. This one is going to be published in an anthology. It's called Ode to the Automat. And some of you will remember the automat. After a long day of shopping downtown, laden down with bags full of our purchases, Mom and I would eat lunch at the automat on Chestnut. We were tired, hungry, but food wasn't the attraction. They served the sort of fare you'd find now in the freezer section of the supermarket. Overly thick chowder, packets of crackers on the side, pickled tongue on wilted Kaiser roll, limp pickle spear, wedges of Jello pie, studded with bright squares of cherry, orange, lemon, the kind you'd see in stained glass windows. Mom preferred white tablecloths and genteel waitresses, but sometimes at the tail end of the month, cash fell short. At the automat, ordinary folks could enjoy the finer things like marble tabletops at prices they could afford. I would spread the linen napkin on my lap, savoring the heft and depth of the silver soup spoon between my fingers. But the real charm was the way you'd help yourself to food stashed behind a steamy window not much bigger than a post office box. You only had to drop your quarters in the slot and slip the plate onto your tray. The food appeared as if from nowhere, although from time to time I'd catch a glimpse of that other world behind the wall when a phantom hand, bit of white apron, would fill a vacant spot with another plate or bowl. I loved to turn the silver spout to make the steaming water gush into a mug. A dime could buy anyone a cup of tea or coffee and an hour out of the cold. Thanks. Now I'll need to share an image. So I'll look for it. There it is. It's by Vasilis Tangouli, and he's given me permission to use it. It's going to be published in McQueen's Quinterly. Afterlife. At the last, you might find yourself at the mouth of a tunnel like the ones you witnessed as a child riding on the subway. Lights flickered, then went dark, but you could still make out shadowy figures hanging from ladders, flashing lanterns, wave of white tile arching overhead. When the train breached the surface, wreathed in steam, you were a hero in an epic emerging from the underworld. There have been other tunnels, sometimes on your trips to visit cousins in New York, in your father's turquoise Chevy, you descend into the Holland Tunnel beneath the Hudson. The radio signal sputtered as you drove in, blinking back loud brightness, cars nosing forward like trout. But no one got the bends. Years later, you hiked under an underpass in Honolulu, where tropical dust enveloped you, the aroma of frangipani and soft moths opening into the light of noon at the other end. They say a warm light awaits after the final darkness. Some proclaim they saw a ramp ascending into clouds like the one Moses climbed. Or else there might be this rough wooden pier suspended over nothing, milky sea of fog or cloud, slender wooden walkway that just stops. Wow. Thanks. And that ending just stops. Like the picture. And I think, Robbie, your book is coming out when? Well, the publisher says that she'll release it October 1st, but maybe she will and maybe she won't. I'm going to be reading at Beyond Baroque, and they do virtual events, so I hope all of you could come on January 24th. I'm co-featuring with Jane Rosenberg LaForge, who has a new book as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I've launched my last 3 books there. So
My last two books.
I've
anyway.
loved my opportunities to read there. Two things. One is, well, we're gonna have Kurt Heinz read in just a moment, but first the money pitch. We can't pass a hat, but we can encourage you strongly to give money via Al's After Hours website. And there's a PayPal link there, and Al collects as much money as you give him, and he sends it out to our two features.
And it gets, and whatever you give gets shared equally between our two features. So we'd like to say thank you in some way. When we were in the real world, we always used to say, 5 if you can, 3 if you can't. So
that was before inflation.
Yeah, that was before inflation, pre-COVID. Anyway,
and
I am posting the link right now. So
good. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to say was, has this not been a killer open mic? This has just been a killer open mic, and I love having all of you here. And without further ado, Kurt Heinz is going to wrap up the open mic, and then we're going to be heading on to our two features.
Oh, you really know how to amp it up for people, Nina. Thank you. If I suck, oh well. Everybody else was good. That's great. I have got new writing. I like bringing new writing to this outfit because it's A, you're accepting, but B, you, like Nina was saying, everybody was doing their darndest for it, and so you kind of have to put out for this. This is something, I think, just like looking for stones in the river, you find something interesting, but in order to see what it really is, you polish it up. This is one of those poems I've polished up. I did this with Allison Joseph at the Aurora Writers Workshop at the beginning of June, and it's been evolving a little bit in the time since. So this was happening in Aurora, Illinois. She asked us to write an ode. I did not write a charismatic ode, and you'll probably hear that. But my ode, because I grew up in the city when I was a child, my ode turned out to be Ode to Aurora when it was just 36,000 people. Now, it is nearly 250,000. So it'll give you an idea about what's happened in the last 50, 60 years. Okay. Here goes, folks. J.E. Bong is dead and has been for a few decades. A mammoth headstone attests this at the end of Wilder Street. I walk past it almost daily. There's J.E. Bong and no irony in the name because it's 1964. Wilder and Lake and Williams and Plum intersect with street lights with radial pleated shades to keep the bulbs shining down, theoretically, because of the city fathers' self-assumed pioneering instincts. Were they right? I asked Dad, but he doesn't know or care. It's 1964. My infant brother cries long and hard. Refuge is on the street on my bike. Red in the sunlight, now purple in street lights that transmute all. Summer color is psycho and painless. The night lacks a true red, the color of whales. My infant brother is still at it, red as ever when I get home. It's 1964. Elms cover Lake Street with the cathedral ceiling. It's 1964. Stumps and toadstools will be there in 1965. Do you remember John Kennedy? Excuse me. Do you remember John Kennedy? Were you there when he victory lapped past our Lake Street house, no hat in the January cold, waving from an open-air car, past stone-faced Republicans by the hundred, except for Mom and a neighbor with Kennedy placards? Now it's 1964. And Grandma and dice games with her, and playing hard so I could win, and enjoying her cheap stroganoff, and asking why Jimmy Fiddler always had dots and dashes sounds in the middle of his Hollywood always had dots and dashes sounds in the middle of his Hollywood WMRO gossip show on her table radio, and never quite satisfied with her 1964 answer. I walked to and from school, the Tasty Freeze, Sears at Northgate, Sun Drugs, the dressy Litton's store with the live monkeys in the window, sometimes way out to Freeman School, blocks away, where Grandma said there were coloreds, unchaperoned and theoretically free, all of us, because it was 1964.
Thank you, Kurt.
You're welcome.
Love it.
All right, there you are. So that that ends our open mic. Pardon me if I'm confused because I'm not seeing everybody and everything. But I'm seeing the people who are most important to see at this very moment, who are Catherine-Esther Cowie and Bryan Borland, their features for tonight. I'm so looking forward to hearing you both and then to having a conversation afterwards. So I'm going to start with Catherine-Esther Cowie, who is a poet, fiction writer, and visual artist. Her debut poetry collection is Heirloom, and her work has been nominated for AWP Intro Journal, Pushcart Prize, and Best New Poets 2018 and 2019. Her visual art was nominated for the Best of the Net anthology in 2023. I do want to say that Roxane Gay blurbed her book, and I was quickly going to try to look up a quote from that, but I haven't been able to yet. She was born and raised on the Caribbean island of St. Lucia, and she currently resides in Illinois. Catherine-Esther, so nice to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So the book is called Heirloom, and it explores the rippling effects of trauma over 4 generations of women. And the book is divided into 4 personas representing each of the generations. So the first poem I'm going to read is from the prelude in the book, and it's called Origin Begs for Hymns. And just before I start, can everyone hear me? Okay, perfect. All right, good. Origin begs for hymns. Then I devoured their wooden faces, their invisibility, disappeared the scent of ochre earth and savannas, carried their people to a new sun. I stole the letters, shoved ABCDE down their throats, how they stumbled, blind, begging for a mirror, a piece of glass. And as it pleased me, they brought forth cane and cocoa and every fruiting tree. And as it pleased me, when I said dance, they danced. And when I said strike your brother's cheek, they struck. Wasn't I a servant to them too? Their stifled sounds pressed into the letters I gifted, they begot a bastard tongue, a burst, shout, long song. Without me, they are without jazz, reggae, or calypso tune. Without me, there is no speech of the world. If there are flowers, give me flowers, praise songs. Without me, you are not. I am your father's hand against your mother's mouth, her air filling with dirt. I build a loom in her belly, spin you, daughter, complete with claws, fangs, and fur. Good. And then, so the next poems I'm going to read are from each of the 4 sections. And the first persona is called Leila. She's a great-grandmother in the collection. And the first poem is called Blessed Be My Unwed Head. Just give me a moment. All right, perfect. Blessed be my unwed head. To what angel did I concede? Let it be as you decree, body for the will of a man. That I was 16, that he married to my sister, did not matter, body for an apathetic God. No spirit overshadowed, ruptured his seed, or the throbbing vein in his sun-spotted neck. I am consoled. At least I wasn't dragged into the bush by some nobody. Oh, hail the extramarital bed of the kitchen floor. And nature, indifferent to circumstance, to my will, does not break her order, her law. Mercy, 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 there must be miracle. No wise men visit, only the matriarchs, rotten-toothed and stinging, their gifts, the back of a hand, fists, and a crown called skettle. What figure do I cast in this family portrait? A darkening frame for this haloed child. She has put on his power, her pale skin blessing her bastardness clean. To tend, to suckle and bath, another body siphoning my life. How the noise in my head grows and grows, splinters into phantoms and shapes. Graceless muses for a courtmobile. How I terror. And the next poem is called Daughter. Curious thing, spit and flesh, huge black eyes. You weren't ugly, that helped. And wasn't I tender, gathering you to my warmth, your lolling head, breakable body. And of the hate I brewed and brewed while you were tethered inside, you bore no mark of it. No trace of your forced conception. You came out well-formed and wailing, and I felt nothing. But knew you were mine, mineness, a feeling. Is there such a thing? Like owning a cat, a thing to do, a small butt to wipe? But wasn't I tender? Isn't that why you begged me not to leave my tender looks? Listen, I fed you so that I could be fed. Haven't I lived like a prisoner, my survival fretting for your squalling body? But now you are weaned and walking a body not so flimsy, so tender. And I am but 22, full of shadows and shadowing. There are things my teeth edge for. Already I have gone out of mind into that crooked picture on the wall there. What am I but that long road running through those watercolor fields? If you follow, I warn you, I will be as much a weight around your neck as you have been around mine. Thank you. And the next poem from this section is called Memoriam after Carlos Drummond's Residuo. And I love this. I love Carlos Drummond. He's a Brazilian poet. I really love his work. Only a little of me remains, a fixture. Mad woman locked in a downstairs room, four-walled gag, muffler. Of my ravings, the upstairs hear nothing, nothing. But still, a little of me will stay, the stink of me in the sheets, on the walls, on their tongues, wagging, wagging all night long about my bad romances, stupid woman, sad woman, object lesson. Of my illness they talk too much. I am spectacle, spectre, fire lover, wandering off into the bush, the market square. My early morning peep shows the breaking day. Someone forgot to lock my room again. The music loud in my head, how I shook the neighborhood awake with my naked breasts. My grandchildren cried, their friends can't come over. And of those things I remember so little, so little. Why can't they do the same? Of the things I enjoy, they won't remember the morning doves nesting in the monstrous breadfruit tree, rum thrown back, going deep down between my legs, my hair brushed and slick and smoothed into a bun, my yellow satin ribbon. Of God am I against, for indifferent, they've never asked or cared to know. My mother, father, their names, already they've forgotten. Of my love of white, they'll remember cotton dresses bleached in a blinding sun, my men always, always fair. Of me so little will remain, stripped and pared down to a fear, bright and blossoming in the back of a young girl's head. Ufu, 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 ufu. And Ufu means you are crazy in St. Lucian Creole. And then the next section I'm going to read is from Marie. Thank you. And Marie is the grandmother in the collection. Early Morning Rescue, Castries, 1951. And I guess I forgot to say the collection is set in St. Lucia, where I was born, and I lived there for about 13 years. So it's set mainly in St. Lucia. And Castries is a capital, just to give a little bit more context. Early Morning Rescue. You search the blue dawn for your mother. She scents of smoke and burnt matches. You steer her back to the house. Soon, your stepfather will wake, demand tea and bread, snatch her by the hair, rattle until you yell, "I'll make it." Sometimes you want to push her towards the open gate, watch as she walks right into the side of a speeding pickup truck. There would be no more sound, the hitting and the wailing and the insults when you snatch the box of matches from her hand. And the next poem is called The Outside Child. I will not disappear, dead myself in a bush somewhere. The freak lives, sucks air. I have a face that is not so unlike hers. Perhaps that's what troubles. I am the final blow. The betrayal so close under her roof in her bed. The man she so loved loved me, raised me in her house, unnatural thing that I am, a sin, offspring of a predator and a prey that grows and grows, has a mammalian face, hands, feet, a voice like the blackbird's, high-pitched and singing. In my wildest dreams, I hug her children, my cousins. They are my brothers and sisters. How they insult, murder killer, daughter of a sketel. I blossom bright, draw nearer still, allow their biting bites, the sharp of their teeth, the only intimacy. My flesh an epiphany. I am, love me. Thank you. And the next one is Elegy for Papa. Of our Sundays, I say little, they are mine, ours. The pots of rice and peas and black mackerel we shared. How after we licked the oil of each finger, the loud clap of your voice, c'est bon. 2. You were too white to live like that, in a hut, on the beach, cooking fish on a coal pot, yellowing your ragged shirts with the suck of mango, your hair thin and spare, a jumbie, a white jumbie. Left me alone, too often alone, for the jungle to hunt manikou and iguana. Even when the Ferdinands took your left leg, you wouldn't stay. Hobbled to and fro, paid the village boys to carry you here and there. The house, the land, you refused to care. Lived only for the sound of the sea in your air, the shine of a dead fish in your palm. Free. Another blue night. My girl air sweats against the locked bedroom door. The love sounds. The scent and silence after. I trouble the lace curtains green with dust. Outside, the trees, thick and nameless, rim the plantation's edge. I ask about my mother. For of that, only the old women talk, men, their ways. The young ones rage, rights. Isn't that how most of us came to be? Have our being, fair skin, good hair, not out of love or rightness, but hips banged open, forced. Still, I was your favorite child, wasn't I? And the next poem, thank you. And the next poem is Easterners. This one is a little lighter. And there's some Creole at the end, and I'll translate it after. I might sing the end a little bit. I'm not the best singer, but I'll try to sing the last 4 lines. Easterners. You are butcher man's son, I a landowner's daughter. Some people don't like the song of us. You are dark-skinned man, I a fair-skinned woman. My people don't like our getting on. But I sing my victory sweet. You are staying man, never blacked my eye, never cursed me out. And when the lights laid low, you pull out a banjo. Oi, 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 oi. Où c'est la vie mouais? Où c'est che mouais? Où c'est l'amour mouais? Merci, merci, Bordier. And the last four lines are translated to mean, you are my life, you are my heart, you are my love. Thank you, God. Thank you. And then the last poem from this section is Reasons to Hit a Child. Because the sun grows in her left eye, because a misfired belt buckle, because her skin hasn't turned, and because the neighbors gossip that a white man sleeps under your bed. Because if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. Because the porridge sticky pan still sits on the stove. Because her mouth is so full of your name, Mama, Mama, Mama. Because as a child you snapped branches in two, kept time to a hand slapping your mother's face. Because rage has its own flight. Because there's a pleasure in pinching flesh until it flashes red. And the next poem is called The Daughters, and these are the daughters of Marie. On repetition. Give me Sunday afternoons, my front porch, my child right here by my side banging some toy into its broken parts. Hear my tongue winged and repeating the same blues, a woman shuddered and struck. I ruffle my daughter's hair, sing, I touch the woman, bruised cheek, touch my face, stinging. My mother said she never touched my face. In that song, the man hit the woman. In that song, my mother said she never. And the next poem is called Haunting. Wait 1 second. I'm going to turn on a light. It's getting dark over here. Just give me a moment. All right, I'm back. Much better. Okay, there we go. Haunting. We frighten the children. My hair ragged in red cloth. I speak a language they don't understand. Their ears tuned to English, tuned to American cartoons. And leather, Guamama leather runs cracks up the walls for the center of our dinner plates. It's their own fault, you know. They won't stay in their rooms. How she endures, Guamama leather. Even after I married, after she died, she endures. Taboo mwe, jab mwe. But the children, they stare, regard me strangely, sadly. There will be no walk to the park today, no jump rope high, only their rooms. They will stay in their rooms. Allez, allez, I chase. They hide behind a wall, spy. I must clean my house like I cleaned Leather's room, scrubbing, a form of memory, a song, Trojan horse for my own blues, keeper of the madness, the mad Leather. Moi fâché, I was only a child made for play, not the washing of soiled sheets, of shit-stained walls of an old woman. But the children, how they stare, their blinkless eyes, pouty lips, why wouldn't they go into their rooms, leave me to Leather? We are a pair, she because of her bad head, mal tête, and I because I was a child, small, pitty, crushable like a roach. The mad and the little, give them a tickle, then a prickle. Leather, stop your singing, and I must stop this fool parade, this arm muscling towards memory. You've made it up. Isn't that what they said? Mal, tête, bad head. No one ever hit you. Mutty. Isn't that what they said? But Leather, my sweet Leather, mad monument, rogue memory. But we must think of the children. They cry for us. Mommy, mommy. Thank you. And the next poem is called Rescue. 1. The freak, dark-headed beast knocks at my cupboard door. I have kept quiet, not a sound, even when the daddy longlegs mounted my nose. She has sniffed me out, calls, Mommy. What terrifies the oven, the flour, the butter pooling on the counter? What a test of love. My husband wants homemade bread. It's easy, he said. What a test of love to understand the workings of a clock, a rug, a water filter, the proportion of yeast to flour, the measure of a dash, a dab, a dabble of salt, a misfixer-upper maker of things I am not. The bread is hard, hard like a rock. It will break the teeth of our guests coming for dinner. Oh, what terrifies. He'll turn into Mama. How you can't cook up to now? 2. My daughter knocks again. She's 4, a voice so sharp, a seam ripper. I lead her to the sea roiling at the back of our house, our arms full of bread rolls, stones. What is a daughter? Small rescue tearing towards the shoreline, rolls falling like a trail of droppings. She flings the bread into the waves. I will tie my waist with a string to hers. My little boy. Or buoy, I think they say in America, we say boy. But and then the last section is called Catherine. Right. Catherine, St. Lucia, 1848. So I'll just give some context. So when slavery ended, the formerly enslaved, they changed their names. So Catherine became Catiche, Anne became Anise, and sort of just represents sort of like a shift psychologically, as well as a shift in their legal status. So the poem sort of references that a little bit. Just to give some context. Catherine, St. Lucia, 1848. When slavery ended, Catherine mashed up her name, became Catiche, discarding the sound of breeze, rifling through the cane, discarding the sound of master between her thighs. St. Lucia, 1986. Because she did not have your coloring, because of your own affliction, you name her after your likeness. Then you thought of your errant climb up the rain tree, a midnight deer, tied your school ribbon to a branch, how it is still there, blue, tattered and flailing. Gave her a second name. A hyphen. I walk the plank between the two names, call me Esther. The Hebrew free root letters mean to hide, hidden. She is her father's daughter. You teach her hands your quiet ways. A plate, an open mouth, the gift of white shatter, never having to say, I hate you. Chicago, 2018. These days I wear my blood-hemmed name, write Catherine on every application, every journal, every poem, sound of my mother, name I once detested, sound of an image that is not me, sound of my fear, repetition. Sunday afternoons, she sprawls on the couch, her white legs peeking from under her skirts, her voice singing, Doodoo darling, stay sweet. Am I then memory or prophecy, swell of her hurt, her sweetness? Unscrew my skull, dislodge the tape, strew her sound through the trees. I wear my name like my hair, the way it screams of a different sun, of Macola blue, of the great Odum. I will not knife the French and English out of my tongue, this heirloom cruel and sweet. My white ancestors roll, roll, roll. I've been sewn into their line. The next poem is Rogue Memories, aka The Beast. What shrieks cupboards until emptied, falls down the back stairs, scattering into tiny, tiny pieces, has no face, bears no teeth, chases the children here and there with a flick, a lick, licks. Only a small girl stays, puffy with hurt, suckling the air of her teddy bear. Louds the clamor of thrown pots, choruses the accompanying damn yous for a window, hems a woman in. She's under the bed. She won't come out, she says. Possesses no hands, but conducts the symphony of another's undoing a sound. Slim, slender fingers smash an heirloom, undo a sound, thread a ghost into the small, small air of a girl. amasses legion at the thin membrane, demanding tending, a witness. Tears through anyway, 1,000 little feet running through your head. And the next poem is called Outside My Window. And this one references some historical figures, the Dahomey Amazons, and I believe Viola Davis, she made a movie about them. It's called The Woman King. So they're the only historically recorded female warriors, and they were or lived in a region called Dahomey, which is modern day Benin now. So it sort of references those figures. Outside my window, a dog, her underbelly, fat, hanging tits. I think of the Dahomey Amazons, women who never knew a man, never bore a child, whose breasts so stunned the Frenchmen they couldn't shoot. The Amazons severed their heads. I have longed to suckle at their tits. Minnow, mothers, I would cry. Each drop possessing what? Pride, prophecy, a way forward. My own legend, a woman forced who stayed. Because sugar cane and cocoa failed, because a 1930s rural town. He, a landowner. Because she was only a girl, 16. Because a song of shame fattens on its own repetition. I reach for another. But what of Minnow's song, wild march to the battlefield, her shame, we are men, not women. If I am the call, Minnow, mother, what of her response? I have no daughter. And the last poem is called Aftermath. Oh, hands that wound, let me restart. Aftermath to great grandpa. Oh, hands that wound, even you grew flowers, the red petaled hibiscus, the soft trumpeting yellow bells. Even you grew banana trees and the dashing root, and we too are your blossoms. I am here, muela, muela. The animal of my body chants my praise. I strip to my underwear, press against the cool tiles, let the sun trample my skin, let the light take root inside. Tonight I listen to the unlit sky teeming with rain. Tomorrow the hills will sparkle emerald, and one day I will tell another, these hills live in me, Montfortune and Bellevue. And you too fretted this place for your bones, abandoned the great house for a hut on the beach, its siren songs. We thought grandma would tongue your name a curse. She called you daddy, spoke of the coconut heads you split, gave her the water to drink. Who wants to begin in violence? We pressed our fingers to our wound, felt its widening mouth chorus. We are ashamed. Oh, hands that wound, no one sung this song to you. No one rimmed your neck with shame. But so into a girl child what is hidden and hurts. Oh, dead man with your ears stuffed with dirt. I string you into verse, a vengeance, an attempt at teasing out the light, to bear witness. I call you monster, I call you father. How this song blues the kitchen floor, bloodies our feet. Thank you, everyone.
That was gorgeous, and I'm going to be recovering from your reading until I am finished recovering from your reading. That was gorgeous. And if you haven't provided a link to either a website or to your book, I suspect people in the audience tonight are really going to want to be buying that book. And I can't wait to ask some questions later. But our second feature, Bryan Borland. He is the poet and publisher of the groundbreaking and impactful Sibling Rivalry Press. As the author of multiple collections of poetry, including Dig on Stillhouse Press, which was a finalist for the Lambda Literary Award in Gay Poetry, and a Stonewall Honor Book, as chosen by the American Library Association. His latest publications is are the chapbook Crow in the Desert and the full-length collection of poetry Brotherful on Sibling Rivalry Press, which I'm pretty sure we're going to hear from tonight. He's also a founding editor of, I don't know how to pronounce
Give it
this,
a try. I want to hear how you would say it. Put
Asaricus.
the emphasis on the first syllable. It's a
Asaracus.
journal of gay poetry, emphasis on the ass, Assaracus.
Oh, okay. Got
When
it.
I named it, I just love making librarians say that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and which is going to be returning to print in the fall of 2025.
Yeah.
But tonight he's here not as a publisher, but as a poet. And thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to grab you out of the break.
Yeah, I took a little break. I sat on the sidelines for a little bit, and I was able to be a reader for a little while, and I fell in love with so many poets writing today, and I fell in love with so many poems that I heard tonight, and the poems that Catherine, the poems that you read before me. My friend Kava Akbar, he recently gave a lecture where he said the best poetry changes the air around us. And the poems that you read changed the air around me. I could feel it, the electricity in my arms, and I was just at the rhythm. And yeah, I want to see a film made of your poems. That's how much I love them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm going to start it like this. So in times of great political difficulty, which can usually translate into times of great personal difficulty, I turn to the old gods. I turn to the poets who have done this before, poets who are no longer with us, but left us roadmaps to get through times like these. So I'm going to start by sharing a poem from Adrienne Rich from her book, An Atlas of the Difficult World. It's called Dedications. I know you're reading this poem late, before leaving your office, of the one intense yellow lamp spot in the darkening window in the lassitude of a building faded to quiet long after rush hour. I know you are reading this poem standing up in a bookstore far from the ocean on a gray day of early spring, faint flakes driven across the plains, enormous spaces around you. I know you are reading this poem in a room where too much has happened for you to bear, where the bedclothes lie in stagnant coils on the bed and the open valise speaks of flight, but you cannot leave yet. I know you are reading this poem as the underground train loses momentum, and before running up the stairs toward a new kind of love your life has never allowed. I know you are reading this poem by the light of the television screen where soundless images jerk and slide while you wait for the newscast from the uprising. I know you are reading this poem in a waiting room of eyes met and unmeeting, of identity with strangers. I know you are reading this poem by fluorescent light in the boredom and fatigue of the young who are counted out, count themselves out at too early an age. I know you are reading this poem through your failing sight, the thick lens enlarging these letters beyond all meaning, yet you read on because even the alphabet is precious. I know you are reading this poem as you pace beside the stove, warming milk, a crying child on your shoulder, a book in your hand, because life is short and you too are thirsty. I know you are reading this poem, which is not in your language, guessing some words while others keep you reading, and I want to know which words they are. I know you are reading this poem, listening for something, torn between bitterness and hope, turning back once again to the task you cannot refuse. I know you are reading this poem because there is nothing else left to read, there where you have landed, stripped as you are. I think about people that have been kidnapped off the streets, and we don't know necessarily where they've been taken. And I hope wherever they've been taken, they might have the luxury of books. And I picture them reading poetry. And I hope it changes the air around them. So they're with us tonight. My new book is called Brotherful. It comes out at the end of this month through Sibling Rivalry Press, my publishing company. And Sibling Rivalry Press is named after my older brother. My brother died when I was 13. He was 21. I started writing after he died to compete with his memory, to compete with his ghost. And his absence became a presence in my life and it changed my life. So the book explores my relationship with his absence. My very first book in 2010 included this poem, which I republished in this book as sort of an introduction. It's called Sons of Abraham. My grief grows with the years. I count 17 Octobers come and gone. Imagine a green-eyed boy with hair the color of straw. Wooden walls sturdy on branches, long since chopped and used for firewood. The older I get, the more aches and pains. A nephew and a treehouse. These things my brother would have made. So I wanted that to be a lead into this book. And I wrote that poem so many years ago, but grief is interesting. It stays with you. And as you grow, it changes. And it's sort of like looking out the window and maybe going to a different room and looking out another window at the same thing. And your view has changed just a little bit, but you're still looking at the same thing. I asked Nina if there was a poem that she would like me to read, and she picked this one, Sibling Rivalry. You will age beyond him in 7 years' time, but this thought hasn't yet occurred to you. Your hair will autumn to gray. His will remain the dark of peace, the color you imagine of space or heaven. The purple blue bruises on your perpetually slugged shoulders will be slow to heal, but they will heal. You will fade from your mother's line of vision. In other moments, she will smother you, warn you against crossing the gods or the streets. When people tell you your voice sounds like his, you will lock your door. You will ask questions, close your eyes, and you will hear him answer. When you open your eyes, you will be an only child. This was the first poem that I wrote for this book. This was sort of like ripping the Band-Aid off and let everything else sort of flow. It's the whole story. It's called The Talking Night. There's so much I want to tell you, tell someone. I stopped talking to my brother when I passed the age he was when he died. I outgrew the him of him, the me to him, turned off the lights, and if I reached my hand into that dark room again, I'd pull back something shredded. I make stories out of death. He was 21 when he died. We were brothers. We weren't yet friends. I was a toy delivered in the Christmas of summer when he was 7 years old. I think he was intrigued by the idea of me, but never quite knew what to make of me. For the first several years, we shared a bedroom. When he moved one room over, I couldn't sleep. He was the passenger in a car that crossed the center line, or the other car crossed the center line. I don't guess that's important now. In the photograph on the front page of the newspaper, you could see one of his shoes on the shoulder of the road. I was 13 for many years after he died. When he moved one room over, we shared a wall. My bed was against the wall. I'd press my body to it. That was the only way I could sleep. He lived 10 days after the center line was crossed, lived long enough to have surgery on his broken leg and for his blood to turn against him. I've lived my whole life fearing my blood would turn against me, but in a different way. We weren't yet friends. I'm not sure we would have been. My friend Kate's brother killed himself. Her sister got a tattoo of their brother's face on her arm. Kate writes poetry about him and worries about her sister's grief. She doesn't understand how the tattoo and the poetry are the same. I remember the night he moved into the new room. I don't remember any night before then. If I reach my hand back into that dark room again, I'm not sure whether the something shredded I'd pull back would be me or my brother. The hospital room was 2 hours away. The only time I visited, he told me he loved me. He was on pain medication. Lack of pain is love. I told Kate if we survive, it's because we use our pain in every way we can. I was a toy delivered in the Christmas of summer. Once he dressed me like a soldier and took me into the woods at night. The dark next to him was thrilling. My back against his back was thrilling. Once we were where we weren't supposed to be, a friend's house, a rule ignored, an unexpected parent, my brother and I hidden in a closet together. I've already written this metaphor, but when I wrote it, I lied. Brotherhood at its best is co-conspiracy. What are the odds of being anyone's brother? On road trips, we talk all night in the back seat of the car, or sometimes in his new room with the door shut and the music on. And that music, it's still playing. For a time, I was a person in the equation of us, the him of him, the me to him. My birth changed the equation of his family. His death changed the equation of my family. In each instance, something was destroyed and something was created. What are the odds of being a brother and then not being a brother? What do I have of his that I still cherish? What do I have of his now that we don't talk? The morning after I became brotherless, I saw hawks everywhere. In high school, I would tell cute boys sad songs made me think of him. I was trying to get them to kiss me. Some of them kissed me. Years after he died, I had a dream his entire body was golden. Years after he died, I didn't think of him at all. Not really. Sad songs made me think of me. Lack of pain is also pain. Sometimes I'd knock against the wall we shared. He thought it was just to get a rise out of him, but it was for me to know he was there. Sometimes it feels like we still share a wall. Sometimes I knock against it. We could have gone one of two ways together. I look at the country now and worry he might have ended up on the other side of something. Or he could have gone the other way. I went the way I went without him. I make stories out of death. Sometime soon, when I'm feeling brave, I'll talk to him again. Maybe I'm doing that right now. Maybe I'm having a talking night. The morning Kate became brotherless, we took her to the airport. When we returned home, there was a hawk in the tree in our front yard. What are the odds of being anyone's brother? What are the odds of anything? Ooh, that one takes it out of me. It still rips the Band-Aid off.
I feel like the Band-Aid has been ripped off me too, but
Ooh,
keep on going. See, that was me giving you a chance to take a breath.
thank
Oh,
you. I don't think any of us should be afraid to take a breath sometime. Sometimes we need it. It would have been my grandmother's 98th birthday today, and she was an extraordinary woman. Um, when she was young, she was the oldest daughter in a family of several children, and her father died. And her mother, with all these children, had no way of feeding them or getting money. This is rural South Carolina. And so my grandmother went to work as a prostitute in this house with other prostitutes. And um, my grandfather had come back from World War II. He was in the South Pacific, and he had come back and he had the mumps. He was sick, and he was told that he could never father children. And he was sent to this hospital in South Carolina, and he was very depressed that he could never have children, and he was going to kill himself. And he went to the barracks shower in the army hospital, and he had this razor, and he held it to his wrist, and he was about to press down, and he thought of his mother, and he decided not to do it because she believed that her faith had brought him home from the war. And so he could not destroy her faith. So he went back to where he was staying, and a buddy of his asked him if he wanted to go out to a party. And he didn't, but the buddy was persistent and convinced him to go. And so they ended up going to this house of ill repute. And he didn't want to be there. And he walked out and walked through and walked to the back. And there was this woman standing there, this girl standing there, and they got to talking. And the girl was pregnant. And they talked all night. And that 16-year-old girl he talked to was my grandmother. And he took her home to Arkansas. And when he got off the train, he introduced his wife to his mother and introduced their child to his mother. He claimed that child as his. No one ever knew. That was my uncle. And it turns out he could father children. And so then I had my father. So I love that story. My family was born on this, on love, this unconventional love. They saved each other. And so that's referenced in this poem I'm going to read. And I wanted to give a little shout out to my grandparents and particularly my grandmother, because they're the reason I'm here. Electricity. The beautiful woman tells me that once a space exists as a place of God, it can never lose that purpose. I believe her. She was talking of a temple, but there's a bedroom down south where a boy gave me all his angels, and they've never left. When people die in car accidents, bouquets of fake flowers grow by the road to hide the doors that open up between this life and the next. My grandfather once kissed my grandmother in a whorehouse in Carolina. He knew the baby wasn't his, but no one else did, and they were married 50 years. And that whorehouse, it's the church of my family. I crossed the street this morning where yesterday another woman danced with something holy in her feet. Call me crazy, I could feel it. She named her God Electric. Tell me we are wrong. We lost a poet today named Andrea Gibson. Andrea had been battling cancer for several years and was very public about that battle. and it made her become more present than anything that they'd ever experienced in their life. And the kind of poetry that they wrote and that they shared was so uplifting and so of the moment. There's a poem in my book, and I want to dedicate it to Andrea tonight. Meditating. The quieting of the mind, that meaningless chatter, the thunderous approaching herd of worries not yet birthed to body. How many days does the dog have left? How many do we? Does the boy I wronged still think of me? Do I kiss my husband enough? Do I make him feel wanted? Do I make the spirits ashamed when I perform beneath myself? But quiet all of this and focus on the breath, the breathing, the space between the X and N. And if I need to think of something, think of stacks of books around me. Bach and family photographs come to movement and memory. Think of winter blooms and telling friends how proud I am of them. Yes, go by name: Elena, Lucy, Gustavo, and Guy. Bless the slow dance to prayer for my mother, for any mother, for the woman who wears a blanket and how she reappears, for the world. Bless the sounds. Don't tune them out. Welcome them. Hear the symphony of being, of imperfection. Bless the snags in the fabric. Bless sick days that slow me down. Bless the bad day at one job that makes me work to find another job. And bless the job I love because of that bad day. Bless the real work of learning to listen and absolution when I don't. Bless being gentle on myself for not believing these words or receiving these words, though I've said them and heard them so many times. I apologize and I forgive you and I love you very much. I apologize and I forgive you and I love you very much. I apologize and I forgive you and I love you very much. Speaking of love, I'm gonna do a poem for my boo. I didn't even think about the Chicago connection when I picked this. This is called Chicago Cubs T-shirt. And this is from a little chapbook called Crow in the Desert. I went to this great writing residency in Palm Desert, California last summer. And you get to stay this week in this great little place that has this, you have a private pool, and all I did was write. And so I wrote this whole chapbook that week. And then I gave it to that residency, and then they put it out, and the proceeds of it go to support that residency. So it was really cool. And you can apply and go, and they'll pay your everything. It's awesome. Chicago Cubs t-shirt. When we were new, I drove the 30 minutes to your childhood home, snuck in to not wake your little brother, your mother, made love in your twin bed. It was love. Hugged you under the pecan trees. Before I drove off, you were cold. I gave you the shirt off my back. Chicago Cubs, oversized and hanging over places I'd just kissed. On the drive home, my chest bare against the seatbelt, I played the music you loved to keep me awake. Bob Dylan, I Want You. The workday, just hours away, I fell into bed missing you. Now, 12 years and 2 months later, we sit at the same table, the same life, kissing the same places on your body. We are no longer boys. We are something broad and strong and sure in ourselves, in us. I remember that feeling, still have that feeling, those sparks and lightning bugs, that buzz of electricity without the fear of it not being real, without the fear of you leaving or not falling as hard. You fell. I'm still falling. The last poem in the book is called Brotherful. It was going to be called, the book was going to be called Brotherless. And that word was in The Talking Night many times. And then I realized, it's Brotherful. Brother, I found photographs of you today, of us. How much does a child remember of those first years? And what I've forgotten, How often were you there? These photographs say constant. I'm drawn to the ways our bodies were bridges to one another, your arm against my arm, hand in hand, or thigh pressed to thigh. Brother as reflection, as shadow, same clothing, same smile in every photo, so much feeling to witness, to feel. And now so much loss, something private, a quiet mourning for myself, for the body more alike to mine than any other body. These photographs remind me to love you. Brother, I found you today. Stay. And I've got one more I gave myself chill bumps. Do you ever do that? So when I was putting the poems together for the book, and I had the first poem, which was about, the nephew, the things my brother would have made. And as I was writing the poems, I realized the family that I married into, this wonderful family who took me in, they're my family now. And my husband, Seth, his little brother, they have this beautiful little boy named Oliver. I'm his favorite person in the world, which does wonders for my ego. But before he was born, I wrote him a poem. I wanted him to have something his whole life, even when I'm no longer with him, to remember the depth of my love for him and this family's love for him. To Oliver, not yet born. Listen, kid, I'm going to let you in on a secret I want you to put in your pocket and carry with you all your life. Before you were even here, you are loved. This family loves you before we know anything about you, before we know the color of your hair, the sound of your voice, or what the weight of you feels like in our arms. This family loves you. And this family will love you as much tomorrow as it does today, in whatever future you arrive in and exist in. No matter who you become or how you grow, this family loves you. This family loves you no matter the choices you'll make, the clothes you put on your body, or what that body can or cannot do. We'll love you through wins and losses, good days and bad, mistakes and disappointments, through every decision you make, whoever you love or don't, whatever you make of this life that is wholly and completely yours. This family loves you. Put this certainty in your pocket, kid, or bury it like treasure. The map to it is in your heart, in your memory, in the face you'll see in the mirror none of us have seen yet. Return to it when you need it. Look yourself in the eyes, whatever color they are, and say it like a magic spell to summon us around you, even when we are not there. Say these words. Say, I am loved just as I am. And his eyes are blue, just like mine. That's all I got. And that's good because I'm wiped out.
Well, you're going to have to recover yourself for the conversation, but that changed the air around us. And between the two of you, I just feel like I've been drinking nectar uh, for the last hour, and I'm now so full I don't know what to do with myself. But thank you both. Let's talk. Um, yeah, let's talk. So, in your different ways, you have written about people who have gone before. And you've written about them in ways that make them very much present. And I want to ask you about let's see. I know part of this was wanting to honor those people who contributed to who you are. And I'm wondering about the choices each of you made about how you wanted to honor and or tell the stories of or speak to. And I want this also to be a three-way conversation. So if you want to ask each other questions or respond to each other, please do.
Would you like to go first?
So when you talk about like choices, I mean, I think I just always wanted to write about women and just wanted to just observe. I think for me, it was just seeing how violence is not something, or trauma is not something that just stays with one generation or stays with a period. It travels, and what form does it take? So I think I was just curious, right? And so I wanted to interrogate that. And also for me, I feel like with family, it's like I said in the poem mentions long song. I see these women as a long song, variations of a song, right? There's some repetition and there's places where they disrupt that repetition. So I don't know if that's helpful.
That is in the repetition. Some was beautiful. Some was kind of anaphoric, but then there were these series that just kind of within a poem that were just very strong. And so yeah, I felt that.
For
Right.
me, I've written about my brother for years, and at first it was very idealistic, and as I got older and learned to recognize that the people that I loved were actually whole people with flaws and their own stories and their own struggles, not just one person, but everybody, and myself included. I wanted to revisit and tell the truth. I think that's the poet's job. That's my job now, is to report what I see, what I experience, what I witness, and tell the truth. There's another poem in the book, and it has a line: "We must tell all of it, the pleasure and the shame," at a time when truth and facts are sort of kind of under attack. So I have a responsibility to that, but it doesn't lessen them as people. It makes them more, because in the way I struggle with the relationships, I see their complexity. And I wanted to honor that and allowing myself to tell these stories and say how I feel in relationship to these people who are no longer with us. It freed me in a way, and allowed me to heal in a way that I stood with my grief in a way I've never stood with it before. I'm talking to a therapist, right?
Yes, you are. And I'm off the clock, so
Send me a bill.
react to each other, guys.
Yeah, like I think I like what Brian says, because I think it's true. And also like in writing my collection, is seeing like the angel and the monster, right? Just like in the Caribbean, the history is so like it's tangled, right? And like in the poem it says, French and English, well, English was, they say, okay, it's a colonizer language. But it's a language I write in and I love. And you have Creole, which came out of this place of and I talk more about this I did something with Push Foundation. So if you want, you can listen. I'll put it in the chat. What came out of the grammatical structure is Wolof, and it pulls from Igbo, different African languages, but also a lot of it French. And you see that beauty that formed out of this ugliness, right? Even there's a philosopher, Edward Glissant, and I referenced that in the first poem, where he spoke about how the plantation created an environment for the speech of the world, which he calls jazz, salsa, rumba, whatever, blues came out of that. Like it, and I call it a sort of marinage, like they couldn't, and Creole is sort of like that. If you speak Creole, it's the syllables are very short in the words because of how they were living. You had to speak, you understand, you couldn't express yourself fully. And that pressure gave rise to something so beautiful. And it's not to glorify violence or to say violence is good, but do you understand to have that inheritance, which is
Yeah.
sweet and cruel, right? That is the heritage that I have, right? So it's interesting. That's what I like to say. It's just an interesting, it's interesting.
It's so complex, and you're holding up a mirror
Yeah.
to your history, and you're having a dialogue with none of us are here alone. We've it's a miracle any of us are here. It's a miracle that our ancestors survived what they did to bring us collectively where we are right
Yeah.
now. That's a miracle. And so behind us and then underneath us, we're standing on the shoulders of all of those stories. And there's so much magic. And in many cases it's brutal. In many cases it's ugly, but there's also so much beauty and stories of survival and stories of love. It's all right there.
Yeah. Muela, muela, I am here, I am here.
Yeah.
Because of that, the history. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm here
That
this
gave me
moment.
chill bumps too.
Mhm.
Bryan had written in the chat that he loved when poets sing. And um, so
Dude.
it's so hard to like pick through all of what you've said. One of the things I'm thinking about, Bryan, you writing about your brother or his
Mhm.
impact on you is much more like peer to peer, despite the age difference.
Sure.
Whereas Esther, you are writing about people whose whole lives you were able to witness in your history. And I'm just, I think you are, Esther, telling more of a story. Bryan, maybe it's because of, he was your brother, he was right on the other side of the wall. You seem to be talking more to him and, talking about how he's left you
Mhm.
or where he's left you, and your task of grieving. Thoughts? They're not really questions I'm asking you, but
These are deep things.
yeah.
Like, I am in therapy right now. No, um, it changes. It changes where he's at. Sometimes he's not there. Sometimes it's just me, and then I grapple with that. And then I grapple with the fact that I mean, I have a publishing company named after him that I capitalized off of his absence, it feels like. So then I had to ask myself, was that okay? Was that okay to use his death in that way? And so I have the line, we use our pain any way we can. And sometimes I think it's okay. And then sometimes I think I don't know if that was okay. And what would he think about that? So I'm in it. I'm still in it, and I'm going to be in it until the day I die. And I hope I'm still in it the day after I die so I can actually have a conversation with him.
Yeah, I love what Bryan said. I think I think it's the same thing. Like even in writing the collection is asking, um, why are you writing about these women? Why? What does it matter to you, right? What about the self am I trying to resolve, right? And also too, like, I think um how these women are written about. I just think of Aracella's Grimai all the time. She spoke about, there's a violence that happens in real life, and then should we violate these people on the page, right? And so what does that mean? In my work, I try to refrain from the nitty-gritty or describing in detail, because that is a human being, right? And so yeah, I think these are a lot of the questions that I had to think through. Also I think of, like, what's her name? Suzanne Sontag, and she spoke about in photos and how people take pictures, and it's really asking yourself, like, why does this fascinate you? Why does this, what are you getting, you understand, you start to ask yourself these questions. Are you getting some pleasure out of their horror, or you understand, it's a deep introspection, because again, these are people, right? And you want to honor that. You want to honor their humanity.
There are poets who feel like a book should not be about. It should be just how not just a book, but even more a poem. But because of the nature of what you're both doing in your collections, it is very much about and what you want to say about these people and their impact on your lives and your life in reference to them. And you've certainly done the work that you've chosen, done it well. And this is a conversation that, well, this is all so deeply human. And I thank you both. I want
Did
to.
you know when you put us together that the books would talk to each other like this? Or is that just luck?
You know what? Not when I chose you both to be here, but I found that there's been a lot of serendipity in the choices that I've made of features, and I just yeah, this one worked really pretty well.
I loved it.
So, yeah, I loved
Esther,
having.
I'll read with you anywhere. Let's just do it. Let's go on an international book tour, me and you. Come on.
I love it. Thank you so much, Bryan. And I really loved your work. It was very, very moving. Let's say that. Thank you.
Well, audience, buy their books. I suspect I don't have to suggest that, but this is some beautiful, powerful work, and you have their reading out loud in your head. And tell your friends that we're going to be posting a recording of the reading within a few hours, and I hope to see you all next month, second Monday of the month. We are here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all. I can't really add to what Nina said. It's probably one of the heaviest, interesting conversations we've had in a long time. So thank you both for that. Very, very thoughtful conversation.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
And
Thank
thanks
you,
to all
Nina. Thank you, Bryan. Thank you, Al.
yeah, thank you to all our open
Oh,
micers and
Yep.
Yeah.
everybody out there in YouTube land. So thank you.
Aloha. Aloha, everybody.
Okay.
Aloha.